Yeah, this is TJ. I'm standing behind Life Center. This is Life Center, where Bishop J.D. Wiley is the pastor. And this is the back of the sanctuary that was blown off in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. As you can still just see directly into the back of the church. Right. And the interesting part is that we're now 5 years after Hurricane Katrina. Right. Now, this church was built only a few years before Hurricane Katrina. It was a beautiful church. I always thought there was a lot of emphasis to make it big and tall versus wide. So the sanctuary, it just seems like as big as the church was, that they would have actually had more room for worship. But it was a pretty nice church. One of the problems now is that these members are still in tents. Right now, this was a church that was having 3 and 4 services before Hurricane Katrina. 3 and 4 services in which all of them, every last one of them, was packed. Right. And as we begin to just take a closer look at accountability and what happens to your tithes and your offerings after you donate them to a church, and it just seems like there should be some accountability for that money. Well, the reality is, when you give your money to a lot of these big ministries, and the goal and the purpose is to build these big sanctuaries and build these big churches, once the church is open, once the church is operating, that church belongs to that pastor. And there's no greater proof of it than this right here, Life Center. This church is actually located on the west bank of New Orleans. And J.D. Wiley is the pastor. Now, what you're going to drive up on now is, here are the tents that they're still having service in right now to this day. And we're going on 7 years. We're going on 7 years after Hurricane Katrina. And this is now the sanctuary. This is now the church. Just wanted to give you a peep in the inside of the church. And I guess those are the trailers that serve as FEMA trailers, or FEMA trailers that now serve as the church office. But that's the steeple that was once on the top of the church. It's now on the ground. It's the steeple. One set really high. Top of the church. Here's the church van. right? There is the steeple on the ground. See if I can get a closer picture. This item here, just on the ground, right? The actual steeple, right? That once was on the very top of there. It was blown down after Katrina. Now, this is not done to sort of mock them. It's really done to say, hey, Bishop Wiley, what happened to all of the money you was collecting? What happened to what did you do with all of the tithes and the offerings that was collected all of these years? I mean, this was a very thriving ministry. It wasn't a struggling ministry. But what did you do with all of that money? And see, nobody's really asking him, because nobody is holding him accountable for this. Nobody is really willing to ask him, Yes, there's a lot of sympathy that they're still intent this far after Hurricane Katrina. There's a lot of people that are saying, yes, they're still intense, and it's so sad. But what happened when these people were paying their tithes and offering all of this time? I gotta ask, man, what was going on with that money? Because it just seems that either through insurance or through money that was in a storehouse, you should have had enough money to repair this church, and these people should not be having churches in tents. Still, now they're not there right now because this is obviously I shot this. It is Sunday, but it's after the church service. But once again, guys, just gotta ask, man. I just gotta ask, and I wish someone was here, because that was actually my goal, to ask somebody, just give me an update, because this construction that you see here, this has been like this for the past 4 years, right? That's the bathrooms, the bathroom facilities. They use the restrooms, rather. I shouldn't say bathroom. They use the restrooms outside. So when it's raining, they're outside. It's cold, they're outside. Hot, they're outside in a tent. Yeah. And the steeple on the ground. And I guess that's symbolic within itself, because when you don't do the right thing with the money that God has provided for, then it's going to get knocked down. And I guess that basically sums up Life Center. But Bishop J.D. Wiley still holds you accountable for all of this, man. It's time to start answering a few questions. Revolution.